My phone says 5:30, so it's time to start. If I can get everyone's attention, please. So just want to say good afternoon and welcome everyone. Welcome to all of our elected officials that are here and all the department heads that are here too. And of course, all of the citizens that are here and, being a part of your local government. It's good to see all of you here today. Just one note about cell phones, if we wouldn't mind to put those on vibrate, turn them off. Check mine right here. Yep, looks good. And we'll go ahead and proceed. This is the June 27th, 2023 Hardin County Fiscal Court regular voting meeting. So let's go ahead and begin and call this meeting to order. And we will now have the roll call.
Squire Clem. Here. Squire Hicks. Here. Squire Muse. Here. Squire Pennington. Here. Squire Saltzman. Here. Squire Thompson. Here. Squire Whitehead.
Here.
Squire Yates. Here. Judge Tall.
Here. Next is our invocation by Magistrate E.G. Thompson and our Pledge of Allegiance by Magistrate Larry Hicks.
I invite you to pray with me. Father God, we just lift ourselves up to you today, and we ask, Father, that you would guide this meeting, that it would be a meeting that would bring you honor and that would glorify you. Lord, give us clarity of mind. Give us all we need to make the decisions that we need to make today. Father, we thank you for your ongoing mercy and love that you extend to us by the act of your Son, Jesus Christ, as he died on the cross for us. Father, we thank you that through him we can have redemption and eternal life with you. Father, we pray that today, as we deal with these temporal things, that you continue to bless us. Father, we thank you for this community being a community where we can speak out and we can praise you. We pray, Father, that today would be a time when you would be uplifted in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, again, thanks everyone for joining us today and participating. Just as usual, just kind of a quick review of the agenda. Next up will be a vote for various meeting minutes. We'll move on to just an informational item of an executive order that I'll talk about. We'll have a couple of department and office reports. These are office reports and their presentations. Well, there's some written reports that are included in the package. And then we'll have a time of citizens' concerns or comments, and then we'll discuss that when we get to it. A couple of resolutions and ordinances to look at and to vote on. And then we have a consent agenda after that. And then we'll have some time for some other comments at the end before we adjourn. So that's the agenda. And so we'll kind of go ahead and proceed through this. The first item here to look at is our fiscal court minutes from our last one on June 13th, 2023. In addition to that, we will vote to approve the fiscal court special called meeting on the 20th of June, and then the minutes from the day after that on the June 21st, the minutes of that special called meeting. So is there a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. Have a roll call.
Squire Clem?
Yes.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Judge Tall?
Yes, motion passes. All right, next is an executive order number 2023-008. This is in regard to appointment of a chairperson and a vice chairperson for the town hall forums. If you remember our last meeting, those of you that watched or may have been here, we passed a resolution that we moved the times for the committees and some other changes, but one of the things that was included in there was it formalized a quarterly town hall forum, and it required the appointment of the chair and the vice chair, and this executive order appoints Magistrate Clem to the chair and Magistrate Saltzman to vice chair. So please note that one thing I guess I want to make clear too is that even though this is a, these town halls, it kind of formalizes 4 of them a year, 1 each quarter, and the dates associated with those. It doesn't mean that we can't have other town halls. And so any of the magistrates and myself can call other town halls at any time in magistrates in their own districts as they wish. And so this just basically formalizes at least 4 a year, and they'll make decisions of where those forums will be and what time they'll be held on those dates. So that information will be forthcoming for any of you that want to be a part of that. Again, these town halls are open agenda, so they will be open to any kind of topic that you want to talk about. It should be a two-way flow, so there should be, if there's any information that fiscal court has that might be interesting to you, then hopefully that will be communicated, and then any issues or comments or things that you want to present back to the magistrates and fiscal court, then of course you'll have opportunity to do that with no real restrictions there. Okay, so that brings us to department and office reports, presentations. So first up is the coroner, Pat Elmore.
Afternoon, Judge, members of the court, and members of the audience. Certainly appreciate the opportunity to come in and present our activity. It's going to actually go back to February, our last one, but
I think, can you all hear him? Can you pull that? Yeah, just get as close to the mic.
okay. Is it better?
Yeah, any speaker today, get as close to the mic as you can, okay? Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's fine, Next screen, please. So in the month of, I think it's running that backwards here, but you should have February. I'll start with April. April, we had 96 cases, you can see. We had about 5 accidents, one of them being a motor vehicle accident. Overdoses that made up 4 of those, and then you'll see the method of the overdoses as far as fentanyl still seems to be the issue that we're having. Then we had a new drug showed up, xylazine. That's getting to be a prevalent drug throughout the state now. So we had naturals, we had 89 cases, and suicides, we had 2 for April. February, we had 76 cases, again, accidents. The overdoses made up the majority of those, 69 naturals and 2 suicides. And then in March, we had 85 cases with, again, overdoses with the fentanyl, and then we had 3 accidents there, 1 homicide, 78 naturals, suicides, and we're pending autopsy on an unknown case at this time. This brings up our manner of death. You can see these. Of course, naturals will always be our main source of death, but then our homicides, we gained those. And really the kind of the sobering statistic on this is the suicides, we're already ahead. This is just what we had in those few months, but then we're actually tied for all of last year with suicides. So we're trying to look into some things to try to see what's going on with that. Autopsies and bequeathals, we had 2 autopsies last month, and of course our coroner transports in our vehicle was 57. That was back to our office for storage for facilities and so forth. Drug overdose year to date, you'll see we have 18 already that are confirmed. We're pending several on talks for the next few months, so we'll report that in our next meeting. Next. This is a new slide, or actually a new screen that we've presented. We've started, it's called Community Partners. These are some of the activities we've had other than just making death investigations. We've partnered with Baptist Health with a drug overdose simulation in the Hardin County Schools. We went to E-Town Police Department and done a Citizens Police Academy and presented a forensics class to them. Lincoln Trail District Health, we're starting an overdose review team. I've reported that prior, and we reviewed 47 Hardin County residents that's passed. And then in the Hardin County Schools, we actually provided overdose statistics for their published magazine. And North Hardin, we actually started with their forensic program this year as far as going in and speaking with their forensics class. This slide basically will show you, again, that Elizabethtown makes up 42% of our cases and follows right down through out of the county. We'll have several still coming in out of the county. A lot of that will be reflected coming to Baptist Health and work from there. Are there any questions? Thank y'all very much.
Excuse me,
I'm
Pat.
sorry,
Is Vine Grove the only station now that carries the Narcan?
That's correct. They have a vending machine there. That's the only one. That's not the only avenue for Narcan. It's getting available. You've got several different places with Lincoln Trail. They're actually passing out, people that request that, and some of the rehab facilities actually have it there. We were actually in a facility and worked an overdose, and right there on the evacuation plan had a dose of Narcan there, so it's available. It's sad that it's got to that point, but it is available.
Yeah, but they're the only one that you can just walk up to and get the
right. That's
Narcan.
correct, but that's the only vending machine.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that Vine Grove is no longer doing that unless they've just.
Now that hasn't been reported to us. I'm not sure about that. I know when they first stocked it, it was gone with just in a few days. One interesting thing that we do see on a lot of these overdoses is we do see Narcan that's actually on their person, that may be in their duffel bag or their backpack, but again, if there's no one there to administer that, it doesn't do a lot of good. So, any other questions? Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is our county clerk, Brian Smith.
Thank you. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. This is always a busy slide, but you all are used to it by now. But this is our monthly fees and commission. We always are comparing where we are this year to last year. We are seeing again what has been trending for most of this year. That real estate is down a little bit, and vehicle registration is up a little bit. I had the opportunity last week to visit some of the clerks from across the state, and clerks in counties of a similar size are seeing this exact same trend. So I think we're kind of on par for a Kentucky county of our size. Next slide. I'll show you all the registered voter statistics. Always like to kind of share this information. We are 44% registered Republican, 41% registered Democrat. The green and yellow represent other and independent, so combined 14%. And then we have a scattering of third-party registrants as well. By comparison, so we started the May primary with 86,686, so we've grown by 152, so our current voter registration number is 86,838. I anticipate that to continue to grow as we head towards the November general election. I also expect to see maybe a shift in registration as well.
if you're not familiar with the state law with voter registration, you have to, if you change your party affiliation after December 31st, but before the May primary, you're not eligible to vote in the May primary. So when people asked us to do that, we told them that we, of course, can execute that at their choice, but we encourage them to wait until after the May primary to do that so they can maintain eligibility for that primary. So those are our current statistics. And speaking of elections, I see our Hardin County School Superintendent is present. I just want to publicly thank you, Superintendent Morgan, for allowing us to have such a great, strong relationship with the schools and executing our elections. We could not do that without the school district, so I want to publicly thank you for that. And my next slide is our contact information, and we encourage the public to always reach out to the clerk's office if you have questions or concerns. So thank you all.
Any questions for our county clerk? Nobody wants to try to stump him on something? No? Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. There were several written reports that you had access to from EMS. Mark Peterson, 911 is appropriate. And that's Mike Leo, Detention Center, Josh Lindblom, and Planning, Adam King, all. Any questions or anything that came up through looking at those reports? Okay. All right, next we'll move on into citizens' concerns and comments section. Just want to do things just a little differently today, maybe for some obvious reasons. Since there are quite a few citizens that have signed up to discuss the zone change item on the agenda, we will hear some comments on this topic first, then vote on the appropriate resolution or ordinance. And then after we finish that, I'll open it back up again for any other additional comments on other items that may be on the agenda. So let me explain just a little bit about the process here that we're going to go through. We will hear public comments for and then against the map amendment request. We will then vote on Resolution 2023-138, which denies the request to amend the zoning map. If the resolution passes, then that agenda item is complete. It's done. However, if it fails, then we will vote on the first reading of ordinance number 334, series 2023. And this amends number 269. Let's see, let me make sure I get this right. And we'll vote on the first reading of that ordinance, number 334, series 2023. No way, I'm sorry. That amends numbers 269, series 2009, so that's actually a 2009 map, and approves the zone change request from R2 and C1 to I2, which is heavy industrial. So, so this court, given that really this court has already viewed about 6 hours of Planning and Development Commission testimony, and so since we've done that, this testimony, it resulted in a recommendation to fiscal court that the amendment be denied. So fiscal court has also reviewed all the exhibits that were introduced during that time. So given all of this, we are going to limit the number of speakers that we have today. I'm going to allow up to 10 speakers. We'll alternate between for the zone change and then against the zone change. And for up to 3 minutes per speaker, 3 minutes per speaker. Please note that the court needs to hear either new information that hasn't already been presented in those 6 hours, or some clarification, maybe something that was confusing and that you want to clarify. Okay, so in other words, I'm not looking for speakers to get up and just say I'm for or I'm against, that type of thing, and just kind of regurgitate the same stuff that we've heard for those 6 hours. That's not all that helpful to us. So we really just need something that's going to be helpful for us to make the appropriate choice today. Okay. So let's see. Lost my place. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and have the first speaker that wants to come up, and this would be someone that is in favor of the zone change. We'll start with that first. So someone that's in favor, please. If you, everyone, as you come up, to stay close to the mic, and then just give your name and where you're from, your address.
I'm Paul Fipke, and I live at 801 Lakeside Drive, Elizabethtown, Kentucky. I'm a constituent of Magistrate Clem. My parents are partial owners of the Buchanan Farm, which is part of this zoning request, along with my aunts and uncles. They inherited the farm from their parents, and I hope to be in the same position someday. Keeping a farm in the family through generations is a hard thing to do, especially when ownership splits. My siblings and cousins behind me represent another generation that's involved now. Managing hundreds of acres by committee is a hard thing to do, and only gets harder as the family grows. Growing up, this land has been a part of each of our lives. I see it when I walk in my parents' living room. It's the cherry wood mantle above our fireplace and handrail going to the bedrooms that my grandpa built himself. It's our playground in the summer where we shoot clay pigeons, and our playground in the winter where we deer hunt. Unbeknownst to my parents, it's a place where I had some pretty fun high school parties. Unfortunately, the farmer leasing our land brought the parties to a halt when he told my dad about the events at my grandpa's funeral. Thank you, Mr. Farmer. Our connection to this land is strong. So the question becomes, what do we do to maintain this family land? As our family grows, how do we enter a long-term agreement for productive use of the land without selling it? I currently work for Congleton Hacker, the construction management group here in town on the Baptist Health Hardin expansion. I'm a project engineer and have some experience with the challenges of building on this region's soil. The discussion about risk associated with building industrial structures on this land are all taken into consideration and mitigated in all construction projects. But tonight we're discussing appropriate zoning. We're talking about a zone change from rural residential to industrial. I agree with a lot of the people who spoke about our farm being good farmland. It's rare to find good farmland, but it's even more rare to find good industrial land. Ever since the railroad and the highways and the industrial park went in, this land has always been well suited for industry. That's why over 100 acres of our land are already zoned industrial. A few years ago, if the family was ready to sell when the industrial zone tried to buy it, it would have already been zoned or annexed in. Here's my closing thought. As many of us are acutely aware, the decisions we make as a community today have long-lasting effects well into the future. As a member of the next generation, I ask you to approve this zone change. The location of our land is logical and consistent with an industrial site. Our family's right to use the land as we see fit is a core value of this country, and neglecting this value today sends a pretty negative message about our community. What message is this sending to people who want to do business here? We're not going to just change the rules depending on whether we like your business or not. If Hardin County is not open to expansion and innovation, that's disappointing. In 10 or 20 years, my generation will either be flourishing or playing catch up due to the decisions today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Just to clarify, I did ask Magistrate Yates over here to take care of the timer. It wasn't his idea, it was my idea. So I want to clarify that so that you don't get upset with him. Okay, the next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, members of the court. My name is Steve Meredith. I'm a farmer and agriculture educator in White Mills, and probably more importantly for the purposes of this discussion, I grew up on South Long Grove Road, Highway 1375. I was at my parents' farm this morning, one that's been in our family for 6 decades now, and I was at a place to check on the cows that we call the barn on the hill, because there is a barn on the hill there, and it's a commanding view of Hansborough Valley, and you should know that that's the area we're actually discussing before you vote on it here. Hansborough Valley, and the view that I had was a view of 1.5 miles of Western Kentucky Parkway. I could see all the way to Glendale. For the past few months, I've been able to see the construction equipment on the site there. And I'm also able to look across and up Highway 62 to see the quarry on the property in question and the land that I grew up knowing as to being that of the George Buchanan farm. Mr. Thompson, you're well aware of this because you lived nearby in the past. And I look at this expanse of land, and I'm well aware that the goal of many in this county, maybe not many, but quite a few, is that we have a continuous industrial park all the way from the industrial area in Elizabethtown down through Cecilia, across Hansborough Valley, eventually joining up to Glendale. And I ask you, how much is enough? Right now, the industrial development that we have on tap requires us to import labor and water. When will enough be enough? Now, there's a document circulating around that lays out some reasons why we might choose to have this zoning change. And I don't disagree with a lot of the document. There's some things in it that I think are right. The problem is they're not right now. And they're not right now because when you choose the path of industrial development, it's a path that you can never abort. When you choose agriculture, we have an option 5, 10, 20, 50 years down the road to change our land use practices. This land is critical to our agricultural economy. And quite frankly, when we look at the prices of food in the food deficit area to the north and east of where we live now, it might be critical that we make plans to value agriculture more in this region because of our geographical position. You know, there are a lot of important points, but to chase a single path of industrial development where we can never turn and face a different direction. And by the way, I think the quarry part is kind of irrelevant to this because, frankly, you have quarries where the rock is of adequate quality. It doesn't mean that we should change or abort the agricultural practices that are in our area. Finally, let me say that I'm amazed at America's fascination with Yellowstone. I'm not amazed at the fascination with the Dutton family, but, you know, we in Kentucky and Hardin County and across the nation, we adore the Duttons. We adore them because of their passion for land, their passion to preserve their heritage, their passion to preserve their way of life. I'd like to see that same passion demonstrated by this court in protecting the agricultural heritage of Hansborough Valley. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Okay, ready for the next speaker.
I apologize for reading, but want to make sure I hit every point. Good evening, Judge Executive Tall and Fiscal Court Magistrates. My name is Terry Morgan, and I live in Rineyville, Kentucky. I am also the Superintendent of Hardin County Schools. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. This evening, I would like to remind the Fiscal Court members of the important role each of you play in the fiscal future of not only Hardin County, but also the school district. The industrial zoning request in front of you this evening, if approved, would soon provide local government and our school district with much needed new revenue in the months and years to come as we face unprecedented growth. Our schools are highly dependent on property tax funding to educate the nearly 15,000 students representing over 10,000 families we serve. These families are your constituents. You know our district presides itself, You know our district prides itself on the nearly 40 career pathways we offer our students. One of those pathways is agriculture. We have an incredibly strong ag program in all of our high schools and in one of our middle schools. We know that agriculture is important to our community. Our FFA programs are highly successful, and many generations of HCS alums are farmers. We also had 87 students graduate this year with an associate's degree. Those students have indicated a desire to focus on a specific career pathway that requires a college degree, and this allowed them a great head start. We have also introduced a construction management pathway. Our students and community indicated a need for all of those professions. So while I am not an expert on what will take place on the land which may occur a zone change, I do believe it has a place in our community, so our students have a greater opportunity and variety of opportunities to expand future career choices. If the zone change is allowed to occur, Ag students can learn how animals create habitats in an industrial setting. Students in college-bound pathways can learn about energy conservation, engineering, and technological advances. And construction management students can discover various alternatives on industrial zone land. These opportunities mean we keep more of our young people here home in Hardin County as they begin their adult lives and move forward in starting their own families. I do want to acknowledge that Hardin County Schools does have plans for a new school in this same corridor. Based on dialogue with the developers and property owners, I want to reiterate that we have no issues with what may occur with the zoning change as it relates to the possible relocation of West Hardin Middle School. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, next speaker.
Thank you, Judge Tall, elected magistrates. I'm David Broderick. I'm the attorney that represented property owners and concerned citizens that you got to see 6 hours of testimony and presentation about. First of all, thank you for your patience to look at it. I'm not going to try to repeat everything that was done. It was a long night. Everybody served you well that night. You have a professional staff that is well-trained and well-versed. You have an appointed staff that listened to us, and after listening to us and listening to the other side's presentation, felt that this should be turned down, and we're asking you to follow their recommendation. One of the things I would want to call to your attention, you as elected officials and your predecessors that sat in the same seats that y'all sit in the years 2008, 2014, 2019, by statute, have to update the comprehensive plan. And when you started the comprehensive plan in 2008, 2014, 2019, you did not consider this area of Hardin County to be appropriate for heavy industry. Now, everyone's toned down tonight and said this is an industrial zone. It is a heavy industry zone. You're probably going to hear from other people about all the things that can be done in a heavy industry zone, and you won't like some of the things that are on the criteria there. Quite frankly, the staff recommendation that night, and you are well aware of it, was that it was to be turned down, and the reason it was turned down is it wasn't in agreement with the comprehensive plan. And it should be denied because it, one, didn't meet the comprehensive plan that you or your predecessors adopted. Two, that it didn't meet the four-step process. You have lots of paper that you've seen. I just want to read one document to you, and it's step 3 of the 4 steps that were not complied with. And it talks about this area, and it says this: comprehensive plan policy, natural resources in urban area. The recommended land use patterns and development criteria states this is low-density residential, and the use is recommended for a low-density level. That all development activities should preserve and protect the existing rural character of the area. Agricultural land should be preserved, and agricultural operations should be protected and encouraged. We know from the documents you've seen this is some of the best farmland in Hardin County. What they're asking you to do, and we ask you to deny, is they're going to take 1,030 acres and turn it into heavy industry and take away your best farmland here in Hardin County. We ask you to uphold what planning and zoning did and deny this zoning map application. Thank you very much.
Thank you. ready for the next speaker.
Hello, Fiscal Court, I'm Ernest Hammonds. First of all, I want to thank Judge Tall. Back in the winter, had to call him. I had a hog that was, a neighbor's hog was out eating our yard up. I called him on a Sunday afternoon. He got animal control right out there and took care of it for me, and I really appreciate it. I thanked him at the crusade for the chicken dinner at Sicilian, but I think he needed public notice on that.
You're welcome.
Really helped us out. I was asked to speak. I was a teacher for 27 years in Hardin County School, or 25, but and I don't like to get in front of people. But I did think of this quote: a Lutheran minister in Nazi Germany, Martin Niemöller. I'm going to quote him with one of the many quotes he came after the war. He spent, I think, about 8 years in a concentration camp. First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. I'm Ernest Hammonds. I live at 34 Knack Pike Road, Cecilia, Kentucky. My parents, Glenn and Benny Lou Hammonds, bought land down in here in 1972. And we moved here. They retired here. They own property. I own property in Hardin County, farms. They own, my mother, Benny Lou Hammonds, owns property in this corridor. My father's now at the Irrevocable Trust, Glenn D. Hammonds, and then my brother and his wife, Ben and Tana Hammonds. We own property in the Western Kentucky corridor, noted in the industrial element of the comprehensive plan. I ask that you be mindful that your decision today will directly impact the value of our land, and do not reverse the Planning and Development zoning decision. Even the Planning and Development Commission's attorney agreed that the Western Kentucky corridor is something to be considered when making this decision, as is included in the comprehensive plan and ready available on the Planning and Development website. I appreciate your time, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next speaker.
Hello, my name is Jessie Turner. I live at 636 Arlington in Elizabethtown.
Okay, can you get, I don't know if you can get closer to that, pull it towards you. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, speak up.
Okay. Stonefield understood at the time of the application there would be a public hearing and that the commissioners would either approve or deny the application for the zone change. It did not and does not matter if there's a Western Kentucky Parkway corridor or not. Stonefield had to prove that the application meets one or more of the following. One, that it's in agreement with the language within the Comprehensive Development Guide. Two, that there have been major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature that were not anticipated by the comprehensive plan. Or three, that the existing zone assigned by the property is inappropriate and the proposed amendment is appropriate. Number one, in their own application, they acknowledge that this is in our natural resource area that is defined by our comprehensive plan as single-family residential use developed in a low to moderately density pattern. Therefore, it is not in agreement with the language within our comprehensive plan. Number two, as you saw in Adam King's presentation, the major changes of an economic, physical, and social nature have been one of residential uses. Since 2012, 108 new single-family stick-built dwellings have been built within 1 square mile of this site, residential, not industrial. Number three, in their own testimony, Stonefield stated numerous times that it will return the land to farming at the end of their project. These statements do not support their own application to heavy industrial, but rather an agricultural zone change. Is it the purpose of planning and development or our comprehensive plan to flip back and forth on the winds that suit every property owner's desire within the county? A lot of time, thought, research, and planning went into writing our comprehensive plan. The same is now being done with an update in the works. Let's not undermine it by placing heavy industrial zone with its many permitted uses next to the Cecilia Valley Elementary or the future West Hardin Middle School. Thank you all for your time. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Judge Tall, Fiscal Court. My name is Krista Schaus. I live at 6133 Salt River Road in Rineyville, Kentucky. I'm speaking today as a resident and also on behalf of United Way of Central Kentucky. In my capacity as Director of Development, we work closely with local industry and businesses to raise funds that address three major community needs: our pillars: education, health, and financial stability. United Way of Central Kentucky supports industry and opportunity in our community. As fundraisers, it means potential donors, from donors giving back to the community and volunteers. In this post-pandemic time and with inflation looming, we are seeing a decline in giving and an increase in community needs related to those pillars. In order to adequately address the needs in our region through effective programming and embrace long-term opportunities for philanthropy, Hardin County must be open for business and must be receptive to new industry. We've met the team from Candela and Stonefield Solar to learn about their philanthropic goals and have already witnessed firsthand their generous support of nonprofit organizations, including STEM camps for Hardin County schools, matching funds for the Down Syndrome Association of the Heartland. And personally, we're excited about their commitment to make community gardens available at the site to support the local community. Please consider supporting the industrial zoning request and help add another industry partner ready to help make our community an even better place to live and work and raise our families. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker.
Good evening, Court, and my name is Rebecca Money Smith. I live at 527 Cecilia Smith Mill Road. The major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature that were not anticipated by the comprehensive plan within this area in question this evening is one of residential use. As Jesse mentioned, since 2012, there have been 108 stick-built homes built within 1 mile of this map amendment, including my own. That does not include the dozens of double-wide homes in that area. Since the announcement of Blue Oval, there have been 19 zone changes within the industrial and interstate commerce areas defined within our comprehensive plan, totaling 468.6 acres. All were changed to either an industrial or commercial zone. The available land for supportive industries has not decreased, as some of you would believe. The Vulcan Quarry was developed prior to there being a planning and development. You didn't even have to install a septic at the time. You could have it running off the hillside somewhere. Its current zone was done so as a default to make a square peg fit within our comprehensive plan. The quarry was closed because of groundwater issues. Groundwater in this area is a major issue and not the most conducive for heavy industrial. The Elizabethtown Industrial Park is located close to this property and is annexed into Elizabethtown. For annexation to happen, the property must meet specific qualifications. One being public sewer must be accessible. The closest connection to the sewer is at the intersection of Ring Road and Highway 62. Since the industrial park is annexed into the city, the Elizabethtown Fire Departments that are staffed 24/7 would be responding to emergencies, not our underfunded volunteer fire departments that may not have the capacity to respond should an emergency occur. Blue Oval has sewer and they will have their own fire department on site. Who will pay for the necessary training, equipment, and firehouse additions that would be needed for the additional equipment to protect our community? Our fire departments have expressed concern. Who will pay for the sewer extension that will be needed for industrial businesses that will likely to develop this land in the future? Questions like these are why it's important to rely on the training and experience of our planning and development professionals. If the Industrial Foundation was so interested in purchasing their land, why haven't they approached with an offer? It's been 4.5 years. Was it that the testing they completed was unfavorable? Was it the lack of sewer connection that is required for industrial development? Without additional information, this letter isn't anything more than kicking rocks. As far as the school board's support, I would like to ask them, do they just support all the uses that would be permitted by right? Meaning there would be no additional hearings for these uses. Do they understand that includes sexually oriented businesses? There is no document on the information discussed at the joint work session between Hardin County and E-Town Planning and Development Commissions, only a brief mention in the applicant's application of such work session. Neither commissions have provided evidence of that work session and the items that were discussed. The interpretation of what was or wasn't discussed at that meeting as hearsay should not be relied upon.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. I also have letters from the fire department and some pictures. You want those, Judge Shaw?
Do we want to take, it's okay to accept those? Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, we have one speaker left from each side.
Just setting a timer here so I can see as I go. Great. Judge Tall, court. I'm Rick Ferreira. I live at 2143 Juliet Avenue in St. Paul, Minnesota. I am a senior project manager for Candela Renewables. I was reading the newspaper this morning, and I saw your quote, Judge Tall, asking us to focus on new information at this hearing tonight. It's a pretty daunting task given all the testimony everyone has been privy to. So I thought I'd just share the things that we've been up to since May 2nd. First, we got to work tying up a couple things where it was clear that people in the public deserved better answers than I was able to give them on May 2nd. Mr. Loden, Mr. Swift, and others. I was also able to confirm that Brian Kunz, our CEO, is an officer of Stonefield Solar. Answer I wasn't ready with on May 2nd. In addition to that, I've been out. I'd be curious to see the contents of the letters at some point. I've been out learning more about the Stevensburg Fire Department myself, about the fundraising goals associated with the need for new equipment and a new building. Learned about the revival of Stevensburg Days. I'd love at some point in the future for there to be a booth that we're at in future iterations of Stevensburg Days. And I'd also love to continue conversations about things like the existing map of fire hydrants in that service territory and how this zone change and the project it enables could start to include consideration of how to expand that water infrastructure so that we can leave everybody better off in the area. Third, I've been following up with my ag professor. I was actually in a soil science class at ECTC. And more than being a professor at ECTC, in addition to that, Ben Smith is actually a key contact in the efforts that we've engaged in to figure out what to do with 70 acres that are sort of nestled right in the heart of the proposed rezoning. And so, the point is, I think that we've had some awesome discussions with the college. We're talking about an educational and a research campus that could actually fit directly within that land use table under an industrial zone, permitted use. It would also highlight the Kentucky Right to Farm Ordinance, which we think is pretty cool. And a fourth thing that I've been engaged in since May 2nd is just following up with property owners. I know they remain optimistic that you will all recognize and protect their property rights by approving this rezoning request. And in conclusion, I'll just say that we're here because of booming demand for what we do, because of landowners who want to participate in meeting that booming demand, and because of the clearly published guidelines from the county, laying out a clear path to approve a rezoning request of this nature for this land. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, for our last speaker then.
My name is Paul Brantingham, and I'm a resident of 148 Deerbrook Lane, Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Your comment at the beginning of this was that you wanted to hear information that hadn't been previously discussed, and so I would like to share with you all some information. I'm a 2008 president of the Lincoln Trail Home Builders Association, and every time I build a house, there are about 36,000 people that directly benefit from the construction of that home. The land that you're looking at is zoned R2. That means that a huge number of homes can be built on that property. The homeowners, I worked with Chris Hunsinger in 2008 on the 2008 plan in order to be able to get that land zoned as an R2, as an alternative. You could obviously zone it agriculture, and it's used agriculturally, but it's also used for that purpose, and that's its primary zone. Another thing that I'd like to point out to the magistrates is we have landowners that are here tonight that have leased their land to someone who is the petitioner tonight. The landowners, like each one of you and myself, we all formed a contract, or the Mayflower people formed a compact. And that contract was done in 2008. And that is a contract that we all agreed on. The landowners agreed on that at that time, that this comprehensive plan was the appropriate way to go forward, and we could plan for the future. To disrupt such, to go from an egregious R2 to a heavy industrial, would have, the landowners would have never consented to that at that time. We all agreed to that, and we have revisited that agreement many times. Another point that I would like to address is I've attended each one of the solar zonings. And in the very first zoning, it was an appeal, it was a petition. Mr. Clayton Gray had a solar company that wanted to put about 1,000 acres into a heavy industrial. And they made their petition, they made their presentation, it lasted 60 minutes. At the end of that 60 minutes, there was an opportunity for cross-examination or questioning. And you all, I don't assume any of you all were able to attend that, or the second one, or this third one. But I was in attendance, and the question was placed before the, is that my time up?
Yeah, just wrap up your thought.
Okay. The question was placed, who is at the, if you follow the money, who's at the end of the chain? Who is the petitioner ultimately representing? And you can check with Adam King. Under sworn testimony, the petitioner, when you finally followed the money to the end, it was a company in Berlin, Germany, that has control for 4 decades of 1,000 acres. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, well, thank you to all the speakers. You did a good job and presenting. And at this point in time, we are going to move on and see if there is a motion to approve the Resolution 138, which that resolution denies the zone change. That resolution denies the zone change to heavy industrial. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion before we vote?
Well, I guess since I'm going to be the first to vote, I'll be the first to talk then. As has been alluded to before, this not...
Can you turn on your mic if it's not on?
This has not been an easy task. Many hours of reviewing documents, note-taking, coupled with hours of public testimony and subsequent review and re-review many times of the facts provided.
As a magistrate, it's my duty as an elected member of Hardin County Fiscal Court to make decisions that are in the best interest of Hardin County as a whole and based on the comprehensive plan. I've read and reread Judge Easton's Circuit Court decision that brought us here today. One theme sticks out, and that is planning before zoning. And also, if our decisions adversely affects our planning and zoning in the future, that brings me to my conclusion. That conclusion is this: based on the testimony I have reviewed and heard, it is my position that the existing zoning classification given to the property in question is appropriate and that the decision of the Planning Commission be upheld. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Judge, if I may.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Fiscal court members were given a task of determining whether to accept the recommendation of the Planning Commission to deny the zoning map change or to grant a change based on new findings. That is our charge. In doing so, 3 questions must be addressed. Is the zone change allowed within the wording of the current comprehensive plan? The answer is no. Is the current zoning appropriate? The answer is yes. Has the character of the area changed in this location? In this location? The answer is no. According to studies by experts, this area has some of the best soils and agricultural land in our community. It also has railways and natural resources. A low-density residential use is the recommended level for a natural resources area. Agricultural lands should be preserved and protected, and the existing rural character of this area should be preserved. The Planning Commission's resolutions from 2008, 14, 19 do not mention the industrial element. Their decision was legal and fit perfectly within the comprehensive plan. I have a great respect for the members of our Planning and Development Commission. They operate under legal guidelines, have numerous years of experience, and are trained and educated to determine the proper zoning and land applications in Hardin County. We should respect their decision. Let them do the job they were appointed to do. The new comprehensive plan should be ready by the end of this year, and that plan will define and identify which areas are best suited for industrial development. Considering my responsibility as a member of Fiscal Court and representing the best interests of all Hardin County citizens, I will be in favor of respecting and approving the decision our Planning and Development Commission made. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Hearing no other discussion, then we will proceed to vote. I just want to make it clear before we do the roll call that that we are voting to approve the resolution 138 that denies the zone change. So a yes vote is to deny the zone change. Is that clear, everybody? We good? All right, roll call, please.
Squire Clem?
Yes.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
No.
Squire Pennington?
No.
Squire Saltzman?
No.
Squire Thompson?
No.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
No.
Judge Tall?
Yes. result?
4 yeas and 5 nays.
Okay, so the motion fails. All right, so what that means is then we are ready to move into the, to vote on the ordinance, Ordinance 334, 2023. And so is there a motion to approve the first reading of this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
So there's a motion, a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will go ahead with the roll call.
If it's appropriate, I'd like to have it read in its entirety so that everybody knows what it says.
Does anybody want to read that? Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay, I'll do that. Ordinance, I'm a little short. Ordinance 2023, number 334 is an ordinance amending ordinance number 269, series 2009, establishing the zoning map of unincorporated Hardin County. Whereas the Hardin County Fiscal Court desires to operate a planning program and comply with all statutes and laws relating to the operation of a planning program for the unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the existing zoning map of Hardin County is contained within Ordinance 269, Series 2009. Whereas an application to amend the existing zoning map to change approximately 1,030 acres located along Litchfield Road and West Glendale-Hodgenville Road from rural residential R2 and convenience commercial C1 to heavy industrial I2 was made by Stonefield Solar Project to the Hardin County Planning Commission on November 3rd, 2022. Whereas the Hardin County Planning Commission held a public hearing on this map amendment request on May 2nd, 2023, at which time the Planning Commission adopted Hardin County Planning Commission Resolution 2023-008, which recommended that the application for the map amendment be denied. Whereas the Hardin County Fiscal Court in special called meetings held on June 20th, 2023 and June 21st, 2023, held a hearing at which it reviewed the recorded sworn testimony and all exhibits introduced into the record from the May 2nd, 2023 Planning Commission hearing. Now therefore be it ordained that the application by Stonefield Solar Project to amend the existing zoning map contained in Ordinance 269, Series 2009, to change approximately 1,030 acres located along Litchfield Road and West Glendale-Hodgenville Road from rural residential R2 and convenience commercial C1 to heavy industrial I2 is approved. And be it further ordained that the approval of the map amendment application is proper due to Hardin County Fiscal Court finding that there have been major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature within the area involved which were not anticipated in the adopted comprehensive plan and which have substantially altered the basic character of the area. More specifically, Hardin County Fiscal Court finds the following. Number one, that Blue Oval SK has located in Hardin County since the adoption of the current comprehensive plan and is within proximity to the application site. That since the announcement of the siting, that since the announcement of the siting of Blue Oval SK, additional supportive industries and other commercial and industrial development has located in Elizabethtown and Hardin County, which has decreased and will continue to decrease the amount of available land zoned for industrial purposes in Hardin County. That it is, number three, that it is sound public policy to make additional heavy industrial I2 property available to sustain economic growth and development in Hardin County. Number four, that adjoining property, which is also owned by the property owners of this application and leased to Vulcan Materials, is currently zoned and or permitted for heavy industrial use. And that cites applicant Exhibit 1, Attachment 1, also page 1 of the Planning Commission Map Amendment Summary Report, and also page 50 of the Planning Commission PowerPoint presentation. Number five, that the subject property is located less than 1 mile from existing property zoned for industrial use. and that cites the City of Elizabethtown official zoning map, June 22nd, 2023. Number 6, that the subject property is in close proximity to the existing Elizabethtown Industrial Park, and the Elizabethtown Hardin County Industrial Foundation has expressed an interest in purchase of the applicant property by letter dated December 26, 2018, cited to Exhibit LL. Number 7, that the subject property is located upon the major roadway of US Highway 62 and near the Western Kentucky Parkway and Interstate 65, and has railway access with adequate transportation infrastructure for industrial use, cited to applicant Exhibit 1, Attachment 2. Number 8, that the neighboring Hardin County School expressed support of the application, cited to applicant Exhibit 1, Attachment 2. See also May 2nd, 2023 testimony of Hardin County Schools Chief Operating Officer John Stith at approximately 2 hours and 48 minutes. Number 9, that a joint work session of the Hardin County Planning Commission and the Elizabethtown Planning Commission was held on July 19th, 2022, at which the commissions discussed the importance of the area in which the applicant property is located to continue development and the economic health of the community, cited to applicant Exhibit 1, Attachment 2. And be it further ordained that this ordinance has had first reading this 27th day of June, 2023, and shall now be advertised for second reading to be held on the 25th day of July, 2023, and will become effective upon adoption.
Good, thank you. Any further comments or discussion before we vote? Okay, hearing none, there's a roll call.
Squire Clem? No. Squire Hicks?
I have a question. Are we just voting on the reading here?
You are voting to go to second reading and to advertise for that second reading. So this is not your final vote, if that's your question.
Okay.
Is that your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I'm voting yes on the reading.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
No.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Judge Tall?
No.
6-3.
Okay, so this motion passes. Okay, so that wraps up the map amendment request. We are now ready to move on to the next business, and that is the resolution number 2023-139 related to the County Administrative Code. And just to kind of, all of you had obviously chances to read the changes to the code. I wanted to cover some of the key points of that, because this is amending our administrative code from 2010, that was amended in 2019. And so some of the key points in Chapter 3, the powers and duties of the fiscal court members, it just clarified the fiscal court committee minutes are to be included in fiscal court minutes, but not approved by fiscal court. So a clarification there. In Chapter 4, in Section 4, there were some appointed positions by the judge executive and that were clarified to conform basically to the KRS Kentucky Revised Statutes. Chapters 2 and 6, there were some references to the hospital, to HMH, that were, and some other information that was about that were removed. Chapter 5, financial management. Again, HMH references to types of accounting systems were removed. Chapter 7, procurement, Section 2, and this is bid and award procedures. This was one of the main reasons to update this, And this is item A, increase the requirement to collect bids for services and goods from $30,000 to $40,000. Removed, and also in item B, remove the requirement to advertise the bid in the local newspaper and added shall advertise for bids on the Hardin County government website in accordance with KRS 424.145. In Chapter 7, Section 4, Small Purchase Procedures, this item A, increase the department head's authority to purchase materials or supplies up to $5,000. Item B, increase the price range for department heads to have the authority to purchase materials or supplies between $5,000 and $40,000 by obtaining quotes from at least 3 vendors. In Chapter 7, Section 5, Negotiated Process, at item A is increased all references to competitive bids required for $40,000, including individual, total, and recurring purchases. And item B, increase the limit to $40,000 for a negotiated process. Almost done. Chapter 9, Section 1, Hardin County Code of Ethics. Here we just updated it to reflect that the Code of Ethics Ordinance number 107, Series 1994, is now attached as Exhibit 1. In Chapter 10, Federal Grant Award Procedures, in this we had mainly an updated item 4, if the county receives an advance in federal funds. In general, the interest may accrue and be used at the county's discretion. And in Section 13, travel and reimbursement, all that information is now included, or will be included in the administrative handbook. And finally, the last one in Chapter 11, under administration, we added Section 6, and this is the Information Technology Policies and Procedures Handbook will now be recognized as official document of the county. Those are the major key changes that are in this new updated administrative code. So is there a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Hearing none, so roll call.
Squire Clem?
Yes.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Judge Tall?
Yes, motion passes. All right, our last item to vote on today is our consent agenda. Again, as usual, I'll just try to roll through this and give you a basic idea of what's in here that we're getting ready to vote on. The first 3 items, approved treasurer's financial report, payrolls in May, and then approved June claims. Of course, all this is basically paying our bills and payroll. And then the next one is approve a resolution number 2023-128 related to agreement between Hardin County and HCEC TV for fiscal year 2023-2024. And of course, this is basically to do what they're doing right now, is recording the fiscal court each time we meet, and that's for about $18,000 annually for that. The next 2 items, approve resolution number 2023-129 and 2023-130, both related to Irvington Gas Company propane bulk system lease agreement. These are at 2 of our Hardin County 911 cell sites that we are approving to proceed with those. We also have an approved resolution 131, and that's related to financial transfers here towards the end of our budget year. Some moving of some money around and some cash to make everything work out. And so we've got that. And then we have Resolution 132 related to a reappointment of Robert Krausman to the Hardin County Board of Adjustments for another 4-year term beginning July 1st, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2027. The next 3 resolutions are all 133, 134, 135, dealing with personnel changes. We have, and also in there, we have some job descriptions in Resolution 136. We have approval of Resolution 137. That's also related to some personnel and EMS, basically a retirement. Congratulations. That will happen July 31st. And then we have approval of Resolution 140, and that's related to fiscal year 2023-24 Kentucky Department of Agriculture spay and neuter grant application. Again, just getting some money there to help us with that. And then we have approval of Resolution 141 related to service agreement with Park Place Technologies per contract for IT server and service. So this is some support that we need, warranty support that amounts to a little over $3,000. And finally, we have the Resources and Community Support Committee meeting minutes from June 22nd. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Squire Clem?
Yes.
Squire Hicks?
Yeah.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Judge Tall?
Yes, motion passes. All right, so now we have some time for comments. So we'll open that up, start out with our county attorney.
I don't have anything. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thanks. How about our county clerk?
I have nothing for the good of the order.
Okay. You got all your comments out earlier? Yes, sir. Okay. All right, let's move through our magistrates. Magistrate Chris Yates.
I would just like to say congratulations to Jabari Rashid from North Hardin High School. He recently played in a game with Louisville City, and upon completion of the game, he was given a contract to the USL Soccer Club, so that's a great accomplishment. And he also got a full ride to the University of Kentucky, and his contract with USL will not hurt his eligibility in college. So congratulations to Jabari and his family.
Congratulations. Okay, next is Magistrate Kenny Saltzman.
I don't have anything other than I was at the game that he played in, and he did a great job.
All right. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Magistrate Patsy Whitehead.
Just a reminder that starting in July, the committee meetings will be at 3:30 with their time change there, and the Resources and Community Support Committee meeting will be July 17th. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Fred Clem.
Reminder, the next Finance Committee meeting will be July the 18th at 3:30 across the hall. And just want to remind the folks, don't drink and drive and don't text and drive. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Aaron Pennington.
I guess since Chris decided to forget about it, I'll remind everybody, emergency services is Thursday, July 20th at 3:30.
Just threw me straight under the bus right there.
I saw that. Yeah. All right, thank you. Magistrate E.G. Thompson.
I have nothing, Judge.
Magistrate Larry Hicks.
Well,
Needless to say, I'm very disappointed in the magistrates today, how they voted. They listened to 6 hours of this testimonial, listened to it today, but it just went through one ear and right out the other. I just ask the people of Hardin County, just remember how this vote went. I'm very, very disappointed in this court. If they can override the Planning and Zoning Commissioner, then I think we ought to just do away with planning and zoning. You know, if we think they don't have the right to make decisions like this, then we just ought to do away with planning and zoning. That's all I got to say.
Okay. Magistrate Kenny Muse.
Just to remind everybody, the first Friday event at Vine Grove, July the 7th, they'll have fireworks later that evening. And the Public Works Committee meetings changed to the third Wednesday of each month. So the next one will be July the 19th, 3:30.
All right, thank you. All right, just a final reminder of the July fiscal court meetings and committee meetings that are coming up, and also that we do have a holiday shutdown on July 4th. So our next fiscal court meeting will be Tuesday, July 11th at 3:30, right here. Okay, any motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any objections? Hearing none, meeting adjourned.